Hello everyone, today you will hear an interesting story. My ex-wife cheated on me and got engaged while she was still married to me. The new husband was an abusive douchebag who worked in a shady business where people invested in oil wells. I found out he was on probation for felony cocaine possession and posted the arrest report and court records online. His firm imploded and now he is unemployed. He was also very abusive to my ex-wife and cheated on her. She finally left him but still pays his bills, which means she is so broke she has to sell plasma. A little over a decade ago, my then-wife decided to get a divorce. We had 2 kids, a 13-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. Even though our sex life was non-existent, I didn't want to break up the family. It turned out that the reason for our lack of intimacy was because she had been cheating on me for quite some time. She had planned everything out years in advance and set it up so that the divorce would be final at the same time she finished her master's degree. Then she was going to take the kids and move to Dallas to live with her fiancé. She even showed me the engagement ring. In short, the divorce was messy, much like the bombing of Hiroshima. When everything was settled, I ended up with custody of the kids. My ex-wife packed up a U-Haul and drove off to Dallas to move in with her fiancé. However, she stopped paying child support, and I had to get the state attorney general's office involved to make her pay. Since she moved to Dallas, she had very little contact with the kids, and when they did visit her, they hated it. Her new husband, who we called the step-douche, had no interest in the kids other than to bully them. It wasn't physical, but it was still bullying. For example, when my son was 15, he wanted to go to a horror movie convention in Dallas. I couldn't afford to go with him, but I scraped up enough money so he could go. My ex-wife said she would pick him up at the airport, take him to the convention, and make sure he had a good time. Instead, they used him to help them move all weekend. By the time he got to the convention, it was Sunday afternoon and everything was closed. The step-douche was a huge jerk and constantly made things difficult for me and the kids, simply because he could. This is just one example. He also occasionally physically abused my ex-wife, but that is another story. It is important to note that the step-douche's occupation was running a small business scam that solicited people to invest in oil wells. He and a couple of other partners ran a call center, and some of his disgruntled employees even posted about it online and cold-called folks to talk them into investing. They would then pool this money together and use it to buy old oil wells, rework the wells to get them producing again, and the investors would all receive a share of the proceeds. I know that they actually did this on a couple of occasions. They even had pictures of the wells on the firm's website. However, I am unsure of how much of the investors' money was actually invested and how much went towards the step-douche's rented Mercedes and expensive suits. I do know that the step-douche and my ex attended a lot of rock concerts and pro football games, but I also know that at least one of his partners was apparently honest. More on that later. The firm was large enough to hire my ex to work there part-time, and they also had a couple of office assistants. Having spent some time in the military and briefly working with law enforcement, I pulled every string I could to gather as much background information on the step-douche as possible. It turned out that he was on probation for felony cocaine possession and for assaulting a police officer. Apparently, he had stopped at a truck stop to pick up party supplies for a Super Bowl party and ended up buying drugs from an undercover cop. No one knew about this, not even his ex, who was shocked when I told her, nor his partners, and certainly not the people he was trying to get to invest in his oil well deals. Eventually, I posted his arrest report online, except for his social security number. I made sure not to add or embellish anything, as truth is a defense against slander. As long as I only posted the complete arrest report, including the arrest number, record numbers, and his plea bargain deal, it would not be legally actionable. After all, court records are public documents. I also made it clear that this was only one side of the story, and encouraged people to contact him to hear his side. I posted all of his contact information, including where he worked, the firm's website, phone number, and even his home address, in the interest of fairness. However, I did not dox him or anything like that, not even once. Despite lacking the necessary legal certifications and background checks required for someone working in investments, I assumed his partners would find out for themselves if they decided to check. I am not aware of the details of what happened next, but I do know that a couple of weeks later, his ex called me and begged me to take down my post. I politely refused. I also know that his firm disappeared, with the website gone, phones disconnected, and emails bouncing. Apparently, people are hesitant to invest their life savings with an unlicensed drug felon. Who would have thought? According to the kids, his ex and the stepdaughter had to move into a hotel for a while. I am unsure of what happened to the house they were renting. Eventually, they moved back to our city, and the stepdaughter got a job working for a friend's exotic car company. Customers would come in and request a specific type of car, and he would have to search the internet to find a matching one. That was for sale. I don't think it was a high-paying position. The ex went back to the job she had before the divorce, though with another company, and she was the big breadwinner. I know that they were dodging creditors for a long time because I would occasionally get phone calls from bill collectors asking for my ex-wife. These guys always found me to be very cooperative. Since I dropped the kids off at their place for the visitation weekends, I knew exactly where they lived, what their phone numbers were, where the ex worked, everything. Then I would call her brother, my ex-brother-in-law, and tell him that his sister was in financial trouble again. I think he helped her out a few times. I once got a call from a bill collector that was out to repossess the Harley the ex had bought for stepdaughter as a wedding present. I was able to tell him not just where they lived, but how to get up to the property unseen. There was a small drainage ditch that ran alongside, and when I dropped off the kids on Saturday mornings, stepdaughter normally had the garage door open while he did yard work. I don't know if the repo man used this information or not, but they did go from a 3-car plus a Harley family to a 1-car family over the course of a few months. Since they only had 1 car, stepdaughter made the ex take the bus to work. Finally, my daughter was brave enough to use her iPhone to record one of stepdaughter's rage fits where he slapped around the ex. I was able to take this to court and get a restraining order, requiring him to be at least 500 feet away from my daughter at all times. This meant that the ex still had visitation, but my daughter didn't have to go over to their house anymore. Eventually, stepdaughter got fired from his job. He has real problems with authority figures and hasn't worked in like 5 years. The ex finally left him. On top of abusing her, he was also cheating on her. But for some reason, nobody understands why she still pays all his bills, which means she has to sell plasma to try and make ends meet, while he hangs out at strip clubs. But that's not my problem. A couple of years later, one of his partners started up a new oil and gas firm, and went to great lengths to get it certified by the Better Business Bureau and every other, look, we really are honest website he could find. So it seems likely he didn't know that stepdaughter was as slimy as he turned out to be. Dear listeners, please like and subscribe to our channel. It stimulates me to release new videos for you.